So, I don't know if I'm supposed to put music on during this. This is my first time ever doing something like this, guys. I'm glad y'all are here with me. And, yeah, so we're going to begin with part 1. We'll do the prologue 1 and 2. We'll do the part 2, chapter 1. We'll see how long it lasts. Maybe I'll do this for like an hour. I feel like anything longer than that, we can probably finish all of this before 2019 if we do this like every other day. I'll schedule every single one of these streams. And, yeah, aside from that, keep in mind, this will most likely... You see, chill music? There's no real chill music. I have epic music. That's all I really got, dude. Is this chill music? The fuck? No. Alright. This is somewhat chill. Alright. Is this too low or too loud? Is this good? Some bedtime stories. Okay, so... What I want with this is some... Pretty much just to know what the fuck's gonna be going down. And keep in mind, these most likely will not be going live. These are probably not going to be public streams. Is this live stream going to be on YouTube after it's over? It is not going to be on YouTube. It's not going to be public. But it will still be watchable if you go to the Discord. I will have all of it in the Discord separately. In its own folder and whatnot. You can also save the link of this stream. It should be fine. Keep in mind that I'm not trying to get copy strike down like Cowboy did. Because, yeah, nah, we're not interested in that. So, without further ado, let's begin. I'm going to actually move this over here. Okay, there we go. Alright. Boy, reading a light novel, that's something you would do alone. Well, I mean, is there sex in these novels? I don't give a fuck. Whatever, it don't matter. Okay, so let's begin. We need a new Bleach game. Yeah, eventually. Yeah, this is after 1,000 Year Blood War. Yeah, and I understand that this is a continuation after the fact. So, Can't Fear Your Own World, Part 1, full translation, done by Miss Stormcaller. I left the link in the description if you guys want to read it by yourself. Everything's there. And without further ado, let's begin. Do not seek the aesthetics in waging war. Do not seek virtue in death. Do not think your life is your own. If you wish to protect each of the heads of the 5 court nobles, then you must slaughter every foe from under the shadow of the leaves. Excerpt from the old edition of the Shino Academy's textbook, Shinigami Regulations Encyclopedia. Do not seek the aesthetics in waging war. Do not seek virtue in death. Do not think blah blah. What the fuck? It's the same thing. If you wish to protect the things you ought to protect, then you must strike down the enemy by cutting them from their backs. Excerpt from the latest edition of the Shino Academy's textbook, Shinigami Regulations Encyclopedia. So it looks like they actually changed the text. That's interesting. You see, this is exactly how they changed the Bible, dude. They changed the Bible so that the Vatican could get more money. Try to penny every single thing out. The televangelists. This novel has a few sketches by Kubo. Oh, that'd be interesting. Alright. Prologue 1. Once there was a battle, a great war between those who called themselves gods who governed death and those who extinguished evil spirits. The conflict ceased in the form of losing their respective kings by the end of the feud, which spanned 1,000 years. The relationship between Shinigami and the Quincy hailed a new era as a result of this great loss. It is said that it was the very same person who killed both kings. He was neither Shinigami nor Quincy, but only a small fraction of people are aware of that fact. There was a young substitute Shinigami boy who was a guest of the Gotei 13, who defeated the ringleader of the Wandenreich rebel army which invaded Soul Society. Only that part of the information, along with the proclamation that the Gotei 13 successfully defended the Soul King Palace, was propagated throughout Soul Society. In other words, it was to be permanently concealed by those who were the very foundation of the Soul Society, that the Soul King himself was dead, for the purpose of avoiding confusion and disorder. Even now, many inhabitants of the Soul Society, including ordinary soldiers, still believe they have their Soul King enshrined at the Soul King Palace. Those who know the facts is limited to only a handful of Shinigamis, such as captain ranks and superior officers, or people attached to important posts in Serete. They also do not dare expose the truth, and thus the people's peace of mind was not disturbed. From there, the revival of the Serete that was left utterly devastated began. Whether or not the decision of the higher-ups who did not deem it acceptable to snatch away the people's moral support was right as they had expected, well, it seems that is something to be judged by history 10 or 100 years down the line. The series of conflicts that would subsequently be known as the Protection of the Soul King Great War ushered in the conclusion of such a state of affairs. Going back in time to the point immediately following the end of the war. Soul King Palace, main shrine, Greater Soul King Palace. At the spot where the former Soul King was enshrined, the holy soldiers, Shinpei, were busily moving around. There was a member of Squad Zero, Hyosube Ichibe, monk who calls the real name, aka High Priest. He stroked his deep black beard while silently staring at the thing that is at the center of the room. From behind, he heard an easygoing tone of voice call out to him. Oh my. So that is the new Soul King. High Priest? The High Priest turned to look over his shoulder. There stood a man with an eye patch over his right eye. Kyuraku Shinsui. Hey, you've become able to move already. Yes, you'd be no good as a captain commander otherwise, the High Priest remarked with a cheerful smile. He answered his companion's query by checking to see if Kyuraku's line of sight was not on himself, but at the center of the space where the holy soldiers were working. You already understand? The Soul King is neither new nor old. It is significant that we call Soul King can continue to exist here. Okay, that's a strange way to word that sentence. Aren't you the guy that said all power is carried in names? With a complex expression still on his face and switching to honorific speech, Kyuraku continued. That is why, in the worst case scenario, it would have been Ichigo-kun that is being sealed under that name. If that was the case, you would have accepted it, right? The High Priest had quite casually informed him of the various scenarios in which it was possible that Ichigo would be named Soul King. However, that word seemed as if it does not harbor a shred of emotion. And then he laughed, displaying a toothy grin as he spoke about Kurosaki Ichigo. I'm pleased for that boy. To reach a point where we would be unable to talk to him would be somewhat lonesome, huh? Moreover, with this, I can feel at ease not having to endure the resentment of Ichigo-kun's friends. You gave them those soul tickets, didn't you? Let's keep that quiet for some of the 46 chambers of the noble bunch. Oh dear, how perceptive of you, High Priest. The position of Soul King, that is by no means a good thing. Far from it, in fact. Kyuraku considered that the single most worst possible outcome as far as Kurosaki Ichigo is concerned. Looking at the thing before his eyes, Kyuraku was reminded of that once again, in preparation for the worst. Oh, damn it. Okay, reading chat and, reading this, I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. In preparation for the worst, Kyuraku handed out special spirit tools called soul tickets to persons who were close to Kurosaki Ichigo in the human world. This is a ticket that makes it possible to freely travel back and forth between the human world and the Soul Society. Improvements have been made based on the technology that was previously used to transport the humans of Karakura Town alive to Soul Society, resulting in this practical substitute. Kyuraku calmly cast down his eyes, scenes of the time he went to inform Kurosaki Ichigo's friends of that one possibility played out in his mind. Depending on the nature of his powers, it could mean that it will become impossible for him to return back home to his world. He had said it himself that he hadn't come around to joking. The young boy, despite acting the most foolish, was also filled with deep anger. You are not joking. Yet how are you expecting us to say goodbye so easily? In contrast to the true anger he displayed for Ichigo's sake, there was the black-haired boy who stubbornly continued to believe in Ichigo with the eyes that remained calm. And then there was the girl, who was more concerned about Ichigo's family members rather than herself, whilst harboring deep anguish and fear for Ichigo's well-being. Both Chad and Orihime, both Chad and Orihime-chan too. Ichigo-kun is blessed with friends, isn't he? Well, that is surely because those kids are captivated by Ichigo. Considering the young people of the human world, Kyoraku was safely relieved for Kurosaki Ichigo, a key player who ended this war. Shunsui lightly lifted his eyes as he addressed the high priest. Above all, it's good that Ichigo is not the one being cut down by the high priest and company. Kyoraku said without hesitation in a curious manner of speaking, without affirming nor denying that. The high priest rubbed his bald-ass head as he laughed cheerfully. Well, seeing as I'm not Yohabaha, that means I cannot see into the future. Well, technically speaking, Kurosaki Ichigo could not have won, but rather ought to have been defeated. High priest? So as far as the boy is concerned, he was fortunate that Yohabaha had completely obtained the power of the Soul King. It is for that reason, even regardless of the fact that Kurosaki Ichigo had won, that Soul Society was able to escape collapse in such a way. As he said that, the high priest clapped his hands together towards the thing placed at the center of the great palace. Behind the high priest, whose eyes closed along with the clear sound of his hands clapping together in prayer, Kyoraku tried to question him further. High priest, is that the will of the Soul King? Or is it the dying wish of the founders of the 5 great noble clans? In a slip of the tongue, the honorific language disappears from Kyoraku's speech. The high priest then replies with aloofness. Listen that. Paying respects to the original dignitaries, you cannot hide your hostility. Do you also perceive Byakuya and Yoruichi from that sort of viewpoint? There's no place where I think of them like that. They are comrades of the Gotei 13. My friends. He smiled wryly as he shook his head. He continued speaking in a lower tone of voice. The actions of their ancestors have nothing to do with them, but, on the other hand, it's not like the sins of their ancestors were non-existent. Am I right, High Priest? You say that, but in any case, there are no longer any founders of the 5 great noble clans left. The moment the High Priest had said that, the dull sound of an explosion echoed throughout the greater palace. Exclamation mark. When Kyoraku turned to look in the direction of the noise, he could sense distinctive spiritual pressures different from that of Shinigami's coming from there. Ahead of their sightlines, there was still a section that was fused with part of the Wandenreich. A portion of the wall was now destroyed, and white smoke flowed up. Then, a few more white figures emerged from the inner part of that wall, out of the white smoke. The alarmed holy soldiers simultaneously drew their swords, adopting a fighting stance in order to defend the greater palace, but the high priest gained control of them, with his commanding voice. No need to concern yourselves. These are not opponents to defeat. One of the white figures had already leapt in their direction. He clicked his tongue, as if drawing out the poisonous air. What, you ain't gonna fight? The white figure that was reminiscent of a wild beast, Grimjow, glared at the high priest and Kyoraku with a sharp look in his eye as he landed. Grimjow touched his hand to his zanpakuto, but then a small bala struck the back of his head. In response to the shock of something striking his head, Grimjow turned around. There stood the female Arrancar who turned up at Soul Society at the same time as him, Neliel Tu Odel Schwank. With her left hand was pointed towards him. She appeared to have just shot it. Neliel, why you? Picking fights on such an occasion. With the demise of the Quincy King, now it is we who are the largest foreign body of the Soul Society, you know. So? If you're scared, then you might as well take your burden and escape through Garganta at once. The one Grimjaw had called Burden was a female Arrancar who was being carried on Neliel's left shoulder. Same as Neliel, Halibel held the title of Espada number 3. When the Wandenreich attacked Huecomundo, Halibel stood at the forefront of the battle, bearing the full brunt of it. However, she was weakened by Yuha Baja's overwhelming power. Consequently, she was captured as a symbol of Huecomundo's oppression. Okay, for the remainder of this, I'm just going to call him Yuach, because Yuha Baja is annoying as hell. At the time he was remodeling the Soul King Palace, Yuach incorporated a prison into his castle, which she became his prisoner. Okay, so Halibel was kept prisoner? Interesting. Whether it was meant to teach the Arrancars a lesson or even remodel her to serve as part of the Quincy Vanguard, and with Yuach now deceased, the purpose of her continued captivity had become unclear. The one thing that was for certain is that she was alive. Only now she was set free thanks to the efforts of Neliel, who had arrived along with Ichigo and the others. Neliel effectively rescued Halibel, the new ruler of Hueco Mundo, but she held mixed feelings at the current state of affairs. Whilst feeling bewildered at the fact that it was the former subordinates themselves who were standing in this palace, before Aizen, who desired to reach the Soul King Palace to such a degree, Neliel addressed Grimmjow, who was being hostile towards the Shinigami. You pick fights with opponents who are exhausted from war with the Quincy's? Is that your idea of a satisfying fight? What a sentimental thought. Anyways, do you think these Shinigami guys are really going to turn a blind eye to us? Save me the trouble. The moment we leave, they'll slash us up from behind. It was the bald-headed, good-natured old man with the deep black beard that then replied to this. Don't worry. We'll turn a blind eye to you guys as much as you want. If you like, we can even escort you up to Hueco Mundo. It's no problem. Who do you think you are? You take us so lightly, huh? I'm guessing that's Grimmjow. They were not even considered a threat as they were wounded themselves. Grimmjow took the remark as just that. He glared at the bald old man, his whole body overflowing with bloodlust. But the man in question replied in an unfazed manner whilst easily brushing aside that thirst for blood. On the contrary, the opposite is true. At any rate, even if we purified or even eradicated numerous hollows of the area, it would strongly point to calamity as a result. Eventually, the equilibrium of the three realms of existence would be sure to collapse if we did such a thing so carelessly in the current state of affairs. For a brief moment, Grimmjow was silent, but then he clicked his tongue whilst bringing his bloodlust under control whether or not he came to terms with it himself. It seems he would rather settle things with Ichigo than mess around in this place. Neliel guessed as such. When push comes to shove, she considered silently launching a surprise attack and dragging him back to Hueco Mundo. Suddenly, Halibel, who was leaning on her shoulder, opened her mouth to speak. Is that what you're all going to be calling Soul King? She whispered her words as if saying it to herself. Her eyes turned towards the thing being enshrined at the center of the palace, behind the Shinigami. Such a thing is at the core of Soul Society? Lady Arrancar, can you still tolerate something like this? The bald man asked while scratching his beard at his words. Halibel slowly shook her head. Now, this bald man is Ichibe, I'm assuming? Or is that wrong of me to assume that? Let me know. I'll actually pull this out so I can read this relatively quickly. Oh yeah, Telltale, I agree, they did get lazy. Let's see, here we are. Right now, I am merely a defeated soldier. It's Ichibe? Okay. I know who Ichibe is, pup. I'm just making sure that this is Ichibe because they keep calling him bald ass, like bald head, so I'm just like, alright. Right now, I am merely a defeated soldier. I'm not qualified to say anything, but I understand why the man that was once ruler continued to detest that thing. Halibel separates herself from Neliel's shoulder on her own 2 feet. She then turns her back to the Shinigami. We have inconvenienced you. One of these days we will repay this debt to you. It's okay. As for this over here, it would be great if you can keep quiet about it in Hueco Mundo. Moreover, if you want to show your gratitude, don't thank us. You ought to say it to Ichigo. As Kiraku said that, the Arrancars showed themselves out, leaving the greater palace area. The same kind of arguing back and forth from just a moment ago could be heard. That's right, I have to repay a debt to that Kurosaki bastard, the male Arrancar could be heard saying. Although he was speaking of a different kind of debt to the one Halibel had mentioned earlier. In response to that, the female Arrancar with the ram's horn said, Do you really wish to settle things with Ichigo with wounds all over your body? Oh my, Ichigo's really popular, isn't he? Next to the muttering Kiraku, the high priest also turns on his feet, heading outside the greater palace. Where are you going, high priest? To wake up the Zero Division a little. Zero Division. The Royal Guards are elite guardians with 5 members, including the High Priest Ichibe, who are said to be comparable to the entire force of the Gotei 13. Each member is a pioneer who has created things such as Zanpakuto or Shihakusho that can be described as the very foundations of the present-day Shinigami. Perhaps it could be said that these great men and women thoroughly refined the history of Shinigami from zero. However, up until Kyoraku had arrived here, he had heard that the Zero Division, excluding the High Priest, had died at the hands of Yuhabaha and his subordinates. Kyoraku inclined his head at the words, "Wake up." But the answer soon came spilling out from the High Priest's mouth. It's not the case that my own flesh and blood was converted into the Oken just for show, you know. The spiritual pulse that surrounds the Zero Raiden, which everyone was given, is almost fused with the individual spiritual pressure of Squad Zero. As long as the Zero Raiden are not completely destroyed, they will be revived if I call their names. Author's note, reminder that Zero Raiden are the separate palaces / estates of the Zero Division members. Okay, I'm glad they I'm glad they elaborated on that. That would have been truly unfavorable if Ichigo didn't win. Isn't that right, High Priest? On one occasion, the Soul King Palace was reworked to Wahwelt by Yuach. If Yuach was alive, before long the last vestiges of the Soul King Palace would have disappeared, with the exception of the High Priest. Squad Zero may have been quite literally annihilated. Where am I? I keep reading this chat. Hold on, we'll put you guys over here until the end of this this chapter. I'm sorry. Let's see. We're here. The Zero Division do not die so easily. I won't let them die. Such is their fate. Well, anyways, Uetsu and the others must work harder from now on. The High Priest spoke in an easygoing manner that was particularly similar to that of Kyoraku in times of peace. Accordingly, once he had finished speaking, he scratched his beard several times while looking up at the sky of the Soul King Palace. There seems to be a young person who has taken advantage of wartime to cause a little mischief. 1 hour later, Soul King Palace, Hoden. Oh, they got me beat, huh? Nimaya Uetsu had just managed to return from the boundary of life and death thanks to the efforts of the High Priest. I'm just going to call him Nimaya from now on. I don't know how to properly pronounce Uetsu. He carried his head in his hands deep in the basement of the Hoden. There would ordinarily be a sword that existed here at the bottom of the sea, which extended around his Zero Raiden. It was a destroyed iron door and the remains of the Shimenawa rope cut into pieces that stared back at him through his eyeglasses. Shimenawa has been elaborated to lengths of braided rope used to cordon off sacred or consecrated areas. Alright, so it's pretty much the yellow tape from police. There was supposed to be a certain Zanpakuto sealed there. However, that seal was tragically destroyed and there was not a trace of Zanpakuto in question left to be found. The girl who was standing next to Nimaya, I'm just going to call her Meta, one of Nimaya's bodyguards and Zanpakuto's spirit, looked at the situation, exhaling a large sigh. So this is the end result of Master getting carried away with the excitement, huh? Jeez. This sword is usually kept deep in the sea, so it is a difficult place to reach. But since it dried up at the time Kurosaki Ichigo's Zanpakuto was being forged, the floor of the sea was now widely exposed. Even though it's an emergency, the unfavorable conditions have piled up. Saying that, Nimaya corrected the position of his glasses as he eyed the surroundings. All the men that were stationed there had fallen. Each of them were undergoing revival by Nimaya's guards, which included Tonokawa Tokie and Nomino Nonomi. Those who were charged with the security of the sword were all defeated. Nimaya squinted his eyes. The kind of emotion in those eyes enveloped in quiet anger. It was different from the time of his confrontation with Yuach and his schnitzel. And now, above all, there was a lowlife taking advantage of the emergency situation in Soul Society to commit thievery? Among the Zanpakuto that were transformed into a human form, and although they are all relatively skilled, there were some noticeably strange aspects to their injuries. There are those who had suffered burns, those who had parts of their bodies frozen, those who kept spasming like they had Tourette's, those who appeared to have been harmed by poison, those who had been pierced with holes throughout their body like a bukkake fest, up to those who seemed to have had their limbs crushed with a blunt instrument. That's what happens when you fuck a really big fat chick. Mera clicked her tongue as she observed the guards who were covered in numerous sword wounds that were particularly characteristic of Zanpakuto. Good grief. How many people did this take? If they have such military force, then they should turn to war. Then one of the Zanpakuto who had regained his consciousness shook his head at Mera's words. It's not like that. Hey, are you alright? Not like what? They were alone when they attacked this place. It was just one person. What? Mera further tilts her head at the other's words. If his words are the truth, then the various types of scars were incomprehensible. However, Nemaya displayed a different reaction. He narrowed his eyes behind tinted glasses in a smiling expression and nodded furiously while spreading both hands apart as if he was satisfied. I see. Well, that's right. So it's like that. Don't convince yourself. It gives me a bad feelings in many ways, Master. So harsh, Mera-chan. With this chat, we can simply narrow down to the main criminal now. After thinking for a brief moment, Nemaya picked up a piece of the seal cloth that was scattered about on the floor whilst calling to mind a specific person. As he observed that cloth, which looked as if something had bitten it off, he mumbled to himself, "No sword should be handled by small fry, but Ikomiki Domoe." Ikomiki Domoe, that's an interesting name. Ikomiki Domoe is not a sword that can be handled by small fry in the first place. Whilst he whispered the name of the Zanpakuto that had disappeared, Nemaya glares at the empty space with a slight sadness and anger as a swordsmith. His eyes were enshrouded in heavy doubt. If that is so, I wonder who intends to wield it. 4 great noble clans. And with the conclusion of the war, the boundaries of the Soul King Palace was closed off once again. The frozen atmosphere makes one feel the remnants of war and the influence of the Soul King that remains as unchanged as before. Even more so, the several live coals of the calamity. Alternatively, letting the various crimes that persist since the dawn of the Soul Society float within its pronounced reishi. And that is the end of Prologue 1. Okay, so I'm going to address the chat, because apparently I've been missing a lot. Spider's reading slow for the... Yeah, I'm reading slow for the chat. I read much faster. I read much faster in my mind. I'm going to download this to make it my bedtime story. Oh, Lord. I thought someone was joking. I don't joke like that, dude. We could actually get a Zero Squad banner with this crossover. Yo, getting like an Ichibe would be pretty sick, not gonna lie. I'm actually removing like a tag over here. This light novel crossover deal is like having more manga characters without them being from 1000 Year Blood War. I didn't think of that. That would be interesting. And then it also opens up the fact that you can actually get into, what is it called? You could actually get into the next Grimjow. You can get Halibel, you can get Neliel, you can get the entire Squad Zero, it looks like. You can get new Zanpakutos, apparently. Because if I remember correctly, this girl's a Zanpakuto. The Mera. Let me actually move this over here. Okay. I'm going to pull this over to the side. And this music's pretty good. I feel like this music actually fits, which is something that I like. YouTube, there it is. Spite, I'm triggered. Yo, you're always triggered, John Boy. You're like a child. OST makes me want to go to church and repent. I'm done. Young Toastin, the strongest Espada ever. Sile pulls. Yo, when he said that he like spread his arms open, it reminded me of the Speed Salaporo. Grimjaw versus Ginjo later down the novel, even versus Luffy. Oh, Oh, Loopy? Loopy could eat it. Nah, I'm good. I don't even like Loopy. There are only about 5 characters of enough significance in the novel that show off new stuff to warrant characters. Yo, Pub, why you gotta make me disappointed like that, man? That's fucked up. We're gonna continue with the second prologue. I'm gonna make sure that this is not the same though. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's the same. Okay, I see something about Eisen, so that's definitely not the same. Okay, we're gonna begin part 2. All right. Prologue 2. In Soul Society, there is a man who aspired to the Shinigami who once saved his life. He aimed himself down the same path. That man, despite being a commoner from the Rukongai, achieved excellent results at the Shino Academy and ascended to the position of vice captain. Righteous, faithful to orders, willing to risk injury in order to save his comrades, even going as far as to stake his own life if it's for the sake of Soul Society. In addition, he is a man who can bear mercy towards hostiles, and although he prefers to play fair, if it's for a moral cause, he is a man who can lurk in the mud and slay the enemy with a surprise attack. Shinigami. He is a person who gives death to his enemy, a person who purifies the deaths of the world. And he is a person who transforms death of people residing in the human world into salvation. Evidently, one might call it the template of a Shinigami in Soul Society. He was a man who embodied a Shinigami of the Gotei 13, both the good and the bad. The name of that Shinigami is Hisagi Shuhei. The position of the 9th Division's vice captain is worthy enough to reserve his name in Soul Society's records. He is a strong warrior, clearly drawing a line between him and the ordinary soldiers. However, even though the names remains in Soul Society's records, there are clear walls between those who remain in everyone's memories, such as Genryusai, Zaraki Kenpachi, and Kurosaki Ichigo. Such aspects include vice captains who are worthy of the name vice captain. Even if that evaluation receives words of praise or even ridicule, Shuhei himself doesn't know. Nevertheless, he will never change his way of life, even if he did know, because he has already chosen this way of life. When a Shinigami saved his life, when he enrolled at the Shino Academy, and the moment he grasped a Zanpakuto for the first time, when he lost all his comrades in a training exercise, when he encountered the way of life of a man who ought to have been his example, when he devoted his life to that man as his vice captain, or when he cut down that man with his own hands. It was not clear to anyone at which point in time he accepted the way of life of a Shinigami. Perhaps even Shuhei himself, who continues to walk down that road. Serete, in front of the 1st Division barracks. Well then, do you have any last words? The Captain Commander's remark calmly echoes around the criminal. A few days after the conclusion of war with the Quincy's, excuse me guys, I'm gonna actually bug you guys for a second. Who's Captain Commander? Who's the Captain Commander? Because this isn't it's not Genryusai, right? Isn't this after the war, or am I completely off base here? I know some of you have already read this. It's Shunsui? Okay, good. Okay. Just making sure that it's not Yamamoto. Yeah, because I forget that Shunsui took over. My bad. Fake fan confirmed. Okay, continuing. The removal of the mysterious bird-like creatures that rain down on Serete has also been completed, and although the stench of death has faded considerably from the surroundings, the threads of tension that is spreading around in front of the 1st Division barracks at the present time is as unchanged as it was during the course of the war. Surrounding Kyoraku, the Captain Commander, oh, I like how they say it right there, members of the Punishment Force who manage Muken, which is the prison, oh, they even explain that, which is the lowest level of the underground prison, and the captain rank Shinigami have been deployed in preparation of the emergency situation. The man accused of high treason that was temporarily released from Muken, Aizen Sosuke, is up for reincarceration. Okay, they spelled that wrong. As it stands, many Shinigami have passed away after battling the Quincy's, and the majority of those who had made it to safety were still in the midst of receiving medical treatment. With the assistance of Orihime, many Shinigami who were between the threshold of life and death were able to hold on to their lives. However, the power of her Soten Kishun is not suited to recovery of lost spiritual pressure. Even though wounds can be healed, if they are completely cured up to the point of their original spiritual pressures, the lives of other patients as well as Orihime's physical strength itself would become unstable. Consequently, Orihime was put in charge of patients who were at the level of seriously ill and could not be handled by anyone else. The 4th Division then took over in the form of further progressing the medical treatment from those who had gotten worse, who had gotten over the worst of their injuries. Despite there being Arrancars who have had their upper bodies blown off and then later regenerated, even Orihime's powers has its limits. Those who have allowed too much time to pass since receiving fatal injuries, those whose souls that have been completely extinguished, and those who haven't even left a trace of themselves in the first place are all the likes of which Kishun Soten is helpless against. After the mass loss of life, there were also many amongst the disheartened Shinigami who felt a sense of powerlessness, and yet news of the eventual victory was enough to encourage the Gotei 13 as one tenacious organization. Although there are no words such as all possible measures that would make sense in front of Aizen, they will nevertheless deal with his reincarceration by maintaining maximum vigilance. Be that as it may, it is only the Captain Commander Kyoraku who will ultimately enter Muken. Kyoraku asked Aizen about last words as a formality. However, he is also well aware that allowing Aizen to talk so heedlessly is dangerous. Even in his present condition where he is restrained in a chair and various parts of his body are sealed, he is still able to use Kido, and even the very words that come out of his mouth could end up being one of his schemes. Kyoraku thought that he would have to seal his voice immediately in case he started saying something disturbing. But as he appeared to assume that, Aizen shook his head whilst expressing a daring smile. It's a pity, but there is no one here that is worthy of bequeathing my words to. That includes you, Kyoraku Shinsui. Glad to hear that. It means that you are only worthy for yourself and misfortune for others. I wanted to talk to Ichigo a little more. And Kisuke is attentive to small details, though, isn't he? Ichigo is currently staying at the residence of the Kukaku Shiba in Rukongai, with his father, Kurosaki Ishin, as well as Orihime and the others. If one considers his war potential, Ichigo probably should have been at the scene to seal Aizen. However, it was a precautionary measure taken against Aizen who could somehow influence the likes of the hollow inside Ichigo. Since Ichigo is originally an outsider, huh? Besides, if you have something to tell him, he's already finished with you, don't you think? Speaking as if he was dodging the subject, Kyoraku adjusted his conical hat. Conical hat? He looked down at Aizen with his intact left eye. Although the seals had become even more powerful than before thanks to Kisuke, he was still not going to let his guard down. Mayuri, who had just come out of his life-saving device, had tried to create a new physical restraint himself, but there was no time to wait around for that. You trust the likes of Kisuke's countermeasures, right? He said. Well then, shall we go? After you finish your prison sentence, I pray that you are an ally of Soul Society. You express a sentiment that is foreign to your heart. While smiling, as if he could see right through everything, Aizen crafts his words without looking at Kyoraku. At any rate, do you really believe the Soul Society will continue to exist till my prison term is over? Of course, because it's our duty to keep it going. You saw it at the Soul King Palace too, didn't you? This Soul Society's original sin. Strangely, Aizen wore the same expression as his former subordinate Haralabel when he spoke. Kyoraku understands. He had seen it for himself inside the greater palace area of the Soul King Palace, the things Aizen was talking about. However, he purposefully did not respond to Aizen's words. It would remain like that as he prepared to lead the way to the entrance of Muken. Even if he had a reply to Aizen's question, it was that he decided it should be done after finally arriving at a place where the voices of the other captains would not reach them, and that is inside Muken. Aizen did not anticipate a reply either, but he then spoke in a cynical manner as if he was seeing through the hearts of Kyoraku and the Shinigami around them. You are a man of few words. Are you afraid that a conversation with me will evoke memories of treacherous Shinigami like Kaname Tosen? Then, in the next moment, a voice filled with anger reverberated across the front of the 1st Division barracks. Don't you screw around. It was not Kyoraku that raised his voice in anger. It was a Shinigami who was short of breath and gradually came running up to his spot. A young Shinigami characterized by the scars and tattoos on his face. It is the 9th Division's vice captain, Shuhei. His bandaged body was painful to look at. It appeared as if he had just slipped out of the sanatorium of the 4th Division. In fact, he is still in a condition that can only be described as being covered head to toe in wounds. His body was shot by Yuachi's Schutzstaffel, Lilebaro. He was on the verge of death with damage taken to his Saketsu, binding chain, and Hakusui, soul sleep, which can also be described as the heart of a Shinigami. Nevertheless, because the power of Lile's X-axis was too sharp, his body tissue, with the exception of where he had been pierced with a hole, was not destroyed. Miraculously, he had escaped death. Hisagi, who received medical treatment from Orihime, only had his physical wounds healed, but the spiritual pressure he had lost at the time his Hakusui took damage could not be recovered so easily, and he was practically in a comatose state for several days. In spite of the fact that he was not completely healed, he had arrived in front of Aizen, who was about to be resealed. One of the reasons why he was rushed to defy the odds until he fulfilled his duty as vice captain of the 9th Division, Shuhei's superior and captain of Squad 9, Kensei, who had come to a state of apparent death due to his body being zombified, was put inside the 12th Division's special medical treatment capsule in order to return him to his original state. That's why, even though he had just barely managed to move himself, he tried to confront the scene with his guard up. And another reason, this was his subconscious mind, but it was out of personal sentiment that he wanted to plainly see with his very own eyes the imprisonment of the man who has caused the ruin of his former superior Kaname. In actuality, he just wanted to see some justice, and he should have understood what's in his heart. If Aizen is in prison once again, everything works out peacefully. Hisagi clenched his cheeks tightly and tried to restrain himself, thinking that there is no way he can afford to complicate the conversation with his own personal grudges. However, that resolve was broken down by Aizen's words, which he heard as soon as he hastened to them. Do you mean to say that Captain Tosen bent his conviction at the like of your words? Do not speak in such a manner, Shuhei, Aizen retorted with a calm and self-possessed attitude in front of Hisagi, who had exposed his anger. Are you wondering at what point I bore witness to Kaname Tosen's changing his mind? By the time you had become a Shinigami, Kaname Tosen was already my subordinate. Nani? Shuhei-kun, your anger is legitimate, but I'm sorry, won't you hold back for now? Yes, I understand, Captain Commander, Hisagi said in response to Kyoraku's chiding. Looking like he was about to extend his arm to his Zanpakuto, Hisagi quelled his heart whilst opening his mouth to address Aizen. You may have put up a united front with Kurosaki to defeat Yuhabaha, but no matter what you try to do to me, you will eternally be the one who brought ruin to Captain Tosen. Revenge. How many times is he reminded of that word whenever he hears the name Aizen? However, it was a positive and a negative, which simultaneously called the mind two meanings. In his heart, there is certainly hatred for Aizen, who guided Tosen down the wrong path leading to his ruin. On the other hand, the doubts and frustrations towards himself being caught up in strong negative sentiment was sweeping through him. From the point of view of Hisagi, who was caught up in his desire for revenge and had moved to put a stop to Tosen's misguided ways, for him to speak of revenge was nothing more than an insult to the Shinigami. Captain Komamura Sajin, who had joined him on the battlefield, and above all, Tosin himself. As if he was seeing through Hisagi's mind, Aizen donned a thin smile and stringed together his cruel words. Eternity. That's not something you can speak so lightly of. Don't you agree? Even Kaname's convictions were not eternal. About that, you... An enraged Hisagi's angry voice is pushed back by Aizen, who continued his speech. You seem to misunderstand one thing. A calm voice, and yet it was the thick voice with a distinct force that managed to overwhelm the shouts of Hisagi. It is not the case that I killed Kaname with my own hands as a remnant of a defeated soldier that must be punished. A momentary pause. At the bewilderment of the others around him, Aizen encapsulated his will in those brief few words. That is my mercy. The air surrounding them freezes at those words. Not only Hisagi, but also Kiraku and the Shinigami in the area were unable to immediately decipher the meaning behind the word Aizen had just uttered. In the relative silence, Hisagi opens his mouth to speak as his tightly clenched fist shook. Your mercy? After Aizen's brazen proclamation, Hisagi boiled in anger even more. Not towards Aizen, but against his own weakness that allowed such a man to kill Kaname so easily. If that is true, to what extent did you fool Tosin, you bastard? In contrast with Hisagi, Aizen continued to talk in an unfazed manner. In that situation as it stood, it is obvious that either Orihime or Retsu would have eventually arrived to try to save Kaname, but you lot could not understand what that would have meant for him. If Kaname Tosin remained alive, his whole being would eventually succumb to an unparalleled despair, and his heart would rot away completely. I could not bring myself to let the owner of such a beautiful readiness to be killed, entwined himself further into despair. For this reason, I granted mercy as a tribute to the subordinate that had the most amount of loyalty. That is simply all it is. I'm trying to find out exactly what this author's note is. Or I'll just read it. In the space reserved for furigana, above the kanji for mercy in that last passage, the kanji for death appears as a side note. Furigana is almost always in either hiragana or a katakana to highlight kanji readings, so of course it's strange to see kanji in a space that's originally reserved for kana. This usage of the kanji for death in the furigana space of the kanji for mercy is most likely the author's attempt to illustrate Aizen's use of the word mercy being synonymous with the word death. No, this is not fanfiction, by the way. Okay. Translator note, it's always annoying. I like the translator notes, I'm sorry. Alright, continuing. Shuhei could not fully comprehend what the other was saying. Despite this, it didn't appear likely that he was deceiving them with vague excuses. Other than a perplexed Hisagi, Aizen continued to throw words at the Shinigami around him. The time will come when you will all know too. This soul society and how Shinigami are being shaped by its dangerous illusions. Shall we really go that far? You're being awfully talkative. Stopping Aizen's speech, Kiraku issues instructions to the punishment force in an attempt to transport Aizen to the entrance of Muken. Please wait, Captain Commander. What in the world is that Aizen guy? The captain of the 2nd Division, Soifon, stood in Hisagi's way. She then twists one of Hisagi's arms while rotating behind him. That's enough. Do not think that you alone are the only person to have been robbed by acquaintances by that guy. But Captain Soifon, if you just want to avenge someone to your own extent, then naturally we will deal with him. Your conduct is only a nuisance that's bringing disorder to your surroundings. Shuhei himself was keenly aware of that more than anyone else. He could not do anything against Aizen's mighty presence himself. What can he do with himself when he gets so upset by Aizen's simple words? Even though one harbors hatred, it is no wish to kill. Having said that, forgiving or forgetting is out of the question. Hisagi had understood such a thing from a long time ago. Then, as Aizen was being hauled away in his chair, he inclined his head slightly and directed his gaze to Hisagi. Swinging one's blade out duty What? Oh, swinging one's blade out of duty alone is a captain's job. Swinging one's blade out of hatred is nothing more than filthy violence. Toshiro once told me that. At those words, Hisagi was unable to say anything more. He felt that it could be said that he was still far away from the rank of captain, but he thought that Aizen was right as well. So instead of refuting him, Hisagi cast down his eyes, stiffly grinding his teeth out of vexation. Nevertheless, Aizen spared Hisagi the humiliation. Rest assured, what you're harboring is not hatred. It is merely sentimentality for your lost Kaname and the impression he left behind. What? You should remember, no matter how solid one's resolution is, it is impossible to slaughter a warrior with mere sentiment. The sound of Kiraku clapping his hands firmly together in an attempt to break up the conversation could be heard. Alright. You've talked to such an extent, huh? Won't you stop intimidating these children with your spiritual pressure? There's no one worth bequeathing your words to in this place, right? In response to those words, the Shinigami turned their eyes towards the members of the punishment force who were carrying the immobilized Aizen that was sealed in his chair. Their whole bodies had broken out in a cold sweat. Those guys are merely entertainment. Since I'll be spending my time in boredom from now on, whether or not the future of Soul Society changes even in the slightest with my modest words, let me assume that it will be enjoyable. My, I can't say your idea of fun is a good one. The members of the punishment force were finally released from the influence of his spiritual pressure, frantically caught their breath while starting to advance forward once again. Whilst he gradually disappears underground as if trying to get at something, Aizen bombards the Shinigami around him with more words in a calm voice that remained as unchanged as before. If you want to see the truth without obstruction, then struggle by sacrificing your own flesh, blood, and soul. Lastly, addressing Shuhei, he was standing in a daze with a few brief words that could be considered an unnecessary addition to make. At the very least, Kaname was able to do so. I wonder if it's not your place to know. Thus the form of the heinous criminal disappeared back into the depths of darkness. Although Aizen's speech, which took on a philosophical view of the world, could not possibly appear likely to be that of a prisoner's, and although he knit his eyebrows in disapproval at the many Shinigami he considered insolent losers unwilling to admit defeat, many amongst captain ranks steel themselves up and keep it locked up in a corner of their heart, that he is a man who plays with lies and falsehoods, but he is not a man who says meaningless things. Hisagi was unable to organize his emotions until the very last moment, and Aizen's words had become a loose poison that remained in his heart. That poison did not distort Hisagi's heart, but it instead gnawed at fate itself, and before long it would lure him to a battle. Or perhaps it was always a fate he had to finally reach as long as he was a Shinigami. Following the path of Kaname, even if there was no poison left behind by Aizen. Shuhei is neither a prophet nor an omnipotent being. Naturally, there is no way he could know his own future. He is not a hero that remained in people's memories like Ichigo, neither is he an absolute powerhouse like Kenpachi, nor a man of wisdom like Kisuke. He is not an inventor like Mayuri, he has no status like Byakuya, he is not a prodigy like Toshiro, he has no experience like Yamamoto, no flamboyance like Shunsui, no vigor like Sajin, no fearlessness like that of Kensei. In this regard, there are a few qualities he possesses, like self-mockery at a drinking party. Whether I aim for a captaincy or continue to remain as vice-captain, I am lacking in countless qualities. In other words, his pride as a Shinigami, Shuhei didn't know yet. In order to protect such commonplace things that practically all Gotei 13 troops had as their own foundations, they would fight with the fate of the world on their backs. It was only half a year after the end of the war when he would face that reality. Alright, we're going to call it good here in terms of reading, and we'll discuss this for the remainder of the stream. That's just the epilogue. That's a lot of reading. Yeah. I thought that I could read more, but honestly, just gonna quickly look. 100 years ago, Sarate Governmental District. But honestly, like, my voice is completely shot already. Prologue, spite, epilogue is the end. Oh, oops, I said epilogue, my bad. Yeah, I meant prologue, I'm sorry. Why are you hating on Toshiro and Ichigo? Who, me? I know you're not talking about me. Oh, I see. Fucking Big Mac. Y'all are bugging. I'm gonna read this chat. I missed so much, dude. When I was a little guy in school and the teacher would read to us while we sat on the magic carpet. So I found a bitch, Shuhei is more captain-like than her. If Asane and Rukia can be captains, Shuhei is more than ready. To be fair, Usane is pretty OP. Actually, what has Usane done, bro? Like, I'm sure she did something in Thousand Year Blood War. Rukia, on the bright side, like, she has her Bankai. Did Asane have a Bankai? Asane fucked everyone for her captain position. At least Unohana got replaced by Big Titties Girl. Yo, I'm not gonna lie, Asane is pretty. Who doesn't like a good old tall girl? Unohana would make a great captain commander. Honestly, after like episode like 14, when Unohana was like shown so much respect, like in the Gote 13, like in the commander, you know when they were having like the discussion about what they're gonna do with Ruki and stuff like that. Like during that little area, I really thought that she was like pretty much second in command at that point. I've been reading this, and boy oh boy, it's about long as fuck. I don't mind long. I'll take long over short, that's for sure. Hitsugai is a huge loser. He loses like 80% of his fights. To be fair, Toshiro's like 5 years old, bro. Like, to be honest, like when he didn't even go full power in all those fights. Yeah, that's true too. Isane is confirmed no Bankai in the Rukia wedding novel. Feels bad. I just thought you pretty much needed a Bankai. Unless you're like retardedly strong like Kenpachi. Despite like Slaw, I don't know. I hope you don't mind me drinking, guys, because I really already feel my throat scratching up and shit. Like, usually when we stream, there's like something to distract. But like here, just reading everything and, you know, that took a lot more out of me than I thought it was gonna. Oh, do you like my shirt, by the way? They actually came in yesterday, and I was like, oh, word? I'm actually happy with it, how it came out. I can't wait for the Unohana one to come in. What's up, Prestige? I could work with that spite. Yachiru did more than most lieutenants. Squad Force captain has to be a healer. Oh, okay. Oof, feels bad. He didn't underestimate his opponent, but he didn't see them worthy of his full potential as adult Toshiro. Now what happens when Toshiro becomes an adult? Does he stay as an adult, or is it like a temporary form, like Gon from Hunter x Hunter? Like, how does that work exactly? Like, I'm a fake fan, so I'm assuming they explain that somewhere in the 1000 Year Blood War manga. Garbage plot hole or plot armor? Does the shirt feel like the art was plastered onto it, or does it feel like part of the shirt? It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a shirt. What the fuck does that mean? I mean, it doesn't, like, you can clearly feel the difference in the, like, the texture and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like it'll peel, you know what I mean? Like, obviously it'll start to peel, like, if you wash it over and over and over again, but for now, I don't know, I like the way it came out. And there's no, like, white spots in between the blacks, which is good. He went back to a kid in the last chapter. Okay. Wait for him to Bankai first. Life hacks. So when you're alone, play Bleach OST and read the light novel. It's really amazing. Honestly, I'm probably just gonna read this with you guys. I find it more interesting. It's so weird. I tried to play Shadow War yesterday on my PlayStation. Cause I'm just like, you know what? Girl's asleep. Not really caught up on work, but I gotta wait until like proper time to call the insurance companies because they're not open at 3 o'clock in the morning. Go figure. So I'm just like, all right, let me just play some Shadow War. I played for like literally like 3 minutes, and then I'm just like, all right, I'm bored. I'm like, if I'm playing this, I need to stream it. Yeah, he did. What do you mean? Yeah, he did. Oh, let me read this. Like, bro, he froze the big Quincy in an instant. Now imagine him versus every opponent when he was in child form. I'm sure Rangaku wishes it was permanent. I'm sure she does, dude. And Kira got... Yeah, Kira fucking exploded, right? There was like jokes in the YouTuber community where we were just saying like, oh, what would happen for Izuru? And I think it was like me Apocalypse, and I think it was Deep Prophet. And we were like talking like, it's like, oh yeah, one of the banners is gonna be Izuru's left arm, Izuru's head, and then Izuru's legs. Just like, and you have to summon all 3 in a 3% banner. So you can get one Izuru. And he'll still have like the hole in his chest. Like, it'll be a new fusion mechanic. Beyond resurrection. I'm upset Ishin has no team bonus with Hitsugaya and Matsumoto. I made jokes about it. Oh, were you there with us? You were probably there with us too then. It was probably you instead of D then. Maybe. I don't even know. It was the half banner with Yama, Izuru, and someone else. The half banner? Nani? That's your Blood Warrior Yama half off. You know what's funny is I actually read that chapter and I don't feel like they would make like him destroyed or anything like that. Like, even though like he showed his Bankai, I would love to see him do the resurrection. Him doing the resurrection, like resurrecting the dead bodies of his destroyed enemies, is pretty fucking funny. Like, I was thinking about that, just have that be the, like, a walking vortex around him. I think that'd be pretty cool. Or, like, have it be the special. I think that would be really, really, really cool. Manga Izuru will be Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh! You mean Manga Izuru will be Exodia'd from Yu-Gi-Oh! Edgy, depressed, blonde cyborg? Oh, no. Ugitake is a big naughty in the light novel. Of course he is. The 1,000-Year Blood War cut in half banner, half Yam, Izuru, and missing arm Jushiro. Oh no. That's what I said. Yeah, man. It would be a dope looking special. Yeah, oh man. Like Bankai Yamamoto, I feel like they could do him so freaking like, cause they could have him and then they could have like discount Yuhabaha. You know what I'm saying? They could have like, I mean, cause it's not really Yuach, it's oh, I forgot his name. Like Frank or Billy. I forget his name. Oh, you ignored my comment. Dude, I'm not ignoring comments. It's hard to keep up. Let me scroll up. How do you like the novel? It gets much better. Oh, I'm liking it so far. It's interesting. I wish that it, like, I know it's a translation. I can't really fault him for that. Royd and Royd. Okay, they have the Lloyd. There you go. I knew it was some weird name. But like there are some times where like she'll word it, she'll word the sentence in a strange way, and then I have to try to like piece it together and make sure that I'm saying it right. Where do you guys read the light novel? Link in the description if you guys want to read it for yourself. I want it to be open. Keep in mind that this does not support Bleach or Tite Kubo in any way, since this is pirated content, I guess you could say. Like, it's translated and then in a public form, you know what I'm saying? Technically, like, it's not paid for content. But Like, since this is coming out for Bleach Brave Souls, I figure, you know what? I actually like reading books. That's something that I do like doing, so it'll be interesting. I think she did better on the wedding novel translation. Oh, I'm sure she did. Like, this was probably, like, her first, like, translation. Or, at the very least, for Bleach. Which, the terminology that she's using, at the very least, I understand everything that's going on. Can you read fan fictions? No, John Boy. I don't do that shit. That's like... It's like reading... Imagine reading Dragon Ball GT novels, like... Nah, bruh. The wedding novel has before this. Oh, was before this. Interesting, interesting. So that's why, what happened so far? I mean, to summarize, pretty much Shunsui and Ichibe were talking about the new Soul King. So what is this thing in the middle of the room that they were talking about, by the way? Like, because do not seek aesthetic. Like, what is this thing in the middle of the room that is the original sin of the original sin or whatever? You watch? Ah. There you go. His corpse? I'm so confused. How does that work, bro? Can I play Bleach OSTs? Nope, because they'll, what do you call it, strike my channel, and they'll ban the entire stream. You guys didn't see, like, Rawad actually played a song, and he went to take a piss, and they blocked his stream worldwide after he played their song for literally, like, 30 seconds. All he did was take a piss and come back. So the main plot of the novel will be brought up. Okay, as long as it's brought up later, that's fine. No, okay. As long as it's brought up later, please don't spoil. I'm good. Alright. Yeah, but Grimjow nah. Grimjow and Halibel came by. Interesting. A thing I do when I read the light novel is that I imagine the whole scenario of what's happening. Yeah, that's what I was doing while I was reading too. I read a lot faster in my head, but trying to make sure that I read properly too. I don't want to sound like fucking Floyd Mayweather. Well, then, yeah, that's worth... Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to fucking read like Floyd Mayweather. I'll make sure that you guys actually understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah, what's up, Game Mondo? How you doing? First chapter, no pictures. Oof. I mean, I prefer words, to be honest. 9 is to push the chat up. Okay, so the reason that I do 9... Pull this. There we go. So, my mouse... I have 9 right here. Click. And then I have enter right here. Click. So, like with my thumb, I literally just do like a small jerk movement and then it automatically pushes 9, pushes enter. Let me just move all this stuff. I don't even know why I have these bottles over here. 9, it means no, I'm done. Y'all are bugging. Because yes means no. I feel like, yo Kyle, I feel like you would be one to do that. Just be like, he's like, hey, you want this dick? And then she'll be like, yes, and you'll be like, well fine then, fuck you bitch. Just like put your like leather jacket on and just leave her room. Just be like, fuck you, I'm going home. I would low-key do some shit like that. I'll probably eventually do that to Sharky. We'll see how that goes. Doesn't make them want you more. Yeah, I know. Man, poor Tosin in the light novel. Nah, he's alright. He's alright. Yeah, what's up, K9? How you doing, bro? Rose a bitch? Wait, who's Rose? Oh, is Rose actually... I didn't read Rose's name at all in this yet. So where did we read? We only read this prologue. I wish that there was like a bookmark. I could just like bookmark it. But we'll start reading chapter 1 tomorrow. I'll schedule the streams like 5 hours ahead, and I'll also, what do you call it, keep reading. I'm not gonna keep reading because my throat's already starting to give out. And honestly, like, we're not getting this until next year anyways. Let me just quickly scroll this down. Okay, it looks like the chapters are gonna be slower. I mean, smaller. Yeah, look at this. In comparison to, let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, so yeah, this looks like a long chapter. This is a long one. But like, this is a lot of like reblogs and stuff. Okay. It's not bad. But we'll take our time with it, and we'll also give other people the opportunity to listen to it as well. Like I said, this is not going to be a public stream. This stream will only be available in the Discord chat or shared with people from the Discord. So if someone wants it, they can watch it from there, or you can get it from my Twitter. No one can use the excuse now that they don't have a voice actor for the Zero Squad or whoever, because these light novel characters are going to have voices in the game. I'm interested in who they're going to use. Wait, so have you read 1000 Year Blood War? No. I did watch a lot of the fights through Soul Madness's videos, someone else's videos, and pretty much like that. And I did read the Yamamoto fight with Lloyd. Hey, what's up, Rose? How you doing? Got a point there. What do you mean got a point? Yeah, because ain't nobody want to listen to like an 8-hour stream. Like, I mean, we've only been live for like an hour. I swear, bro, by the end of this, like, I want to say like 5 minutes before we were done reading the prologue, I was already like, I want a bottle of water. Like, I want a bottle of water. I miss Soul Madness. Soul's still there, bro. Dude, he's doing just fine. We're like live dashboard. So I'll just click what? Soul? Death Note. Like, he just put out a Death Note video. Ah, here it is. Light Yagami's. Look, I only watched like 10 minutes of it. Could've swore that I finished it. Oh, I'm only 10 minutes in. Yeah, I was watching this before church. Look, he already got like 11k views. He's already at 50k subs. If you didn't sub to Soul, he's not doing his motion pictures anymore because, like, obviously he doesn't want to get his shit shut down. But he's already, like, I was watching this like a second time. I watched some of this. Even though I don't even know what fucking anime this is from. I think it was Berserk or some shit. I didn't even watch Cowboy Bebop. I watched this once. I didn't watch this. I need to finish watching this. I need to watch this, and this was interesting. Like, he made an 18-minute video on just Light Yagami's laugh. Like, he still has good content. He just can't do the, what do you call it? Because he got his entire channel shut down because of copyright strikes. Strikes, not claims, guys. Strikes. The difference between a strike and a claim is huge. The claim, they'll take the money from the ad revenue. Strikes, 3 strikes and you get your shit shut down. The fuck is this? Could you like see like this fucking guy? What the fuck are you doing, bro? No. Just deleted that shit, bro. I like how it's like streamer mode is enabled. Alright. Open up that. Make sure that nobody talks to me on Twitch. I told him it was pirating in your stream chat and Discord, and he just laughed it off. Glad he got shut down. Feels bad, man. Copy strikes are the worst. Should I summon on the Getsuga Murcielago banner? I have 2 out of 3 characters. Error, I don't know your situation, nor do I know like what you have, what you're missing. Because if you have 2 out of the 5 characters, it doesn't really matter in terms of like. No, I don't want to say that in a crass way. I just mean like, I don't know if you have tag team Ichigo and Aizen. No. If you have tag team Ichigo and anniversary Ichigo, then I would summon. But if you have like if you have Anniversary Ulquiorra and then you have Genryusai, then maybe you'll probably not want to summon just because, like, we have a new banner coming out. We don't know who's going to be the fillers there. That being said, this banner is very good, but 4 out of the 5 of the characters are meta, and then like 2 out of the 5 characters are usable in PvP. One of them is like for guild quest. Thank you guys. Yeah. I kind of muted myself because I don't want you guys to, what do you call it? 3% with more than 3 characters isn't fun. That is absolutely true. That being said, me saying that you should summon or I would summon, I wouldn't recommend going deep. I would do like 250 to 500 orbs at most, or until you get your first 5. Or until you get your first 5-star, excuse me. Is the light novel coming to BBS? Is this considered a light novel? Or is this considered a novel? Because light novels, I always assume like they're like baby stuff, you know what I'm saying? I have Yama and Aizen. I'd probably do 250 if you have over 1,000. You're gonna want to summon for this Ichigo, most likely. Most of the Ichigos have been very, very good. Hellverse Ichigo excluded. Hellverse Ichigo's pretty gaga. He's okay, he's pretty shit. Well, I'm not summoning for Chad, I'm not summoning for Uryu, I'm summoning for Ichigo. I always summon for Ichigo. Now, if I get Chad or Uryu, would I be disappointed? I wouldn't be disappointed because they're gonna be bad characters. I'd be disappointed only because I want Ichigo, and if you summon one banner character, you don't really want to summon anymore, and if you pull 2 out of 3 characters, you shouldn't summon anymore at all. Like, done. Like, for example, if when I summoned for Aizen with the White Zangetsu and Ishin, I didn't care for any of the other ones. I just wanted Aizen. I pulled 2 White Zangetsus, which was cool. I'm glad that he turned out to be very, very good. I'm glad that I was wrong. Oh shit, that fucking scared the fuck out of me.
Just saying, what's up, B? All of y'all have a good day.
Shout out to Jay with the $10 dono, man. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. Oh fuck, yo, that scared the fucking shit out of me, dude. I was not ready for that at all. Oh man. Okay, that disoriented me. What was I talking about? What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So I got White Zangetsu after like 800 orbs. I got my second White Zangetsu after 2,000 orbs, and then I pull Ishin after 3,300 orbs when I only wanted to do like 1,500 at most. I do 3,300 orbs, I pull Ishin, and you can clearly hear me very, very upset when I pull that Ishin. You know what? I can actually pull that shit up too. Spite White Zangetsu Ishin. It'll probably show up. Why are they showing up late? Bruh. When you a little nigga. Feels bad, man. Oh, ew, right, justice. Yeah, I can let me quickly. I'm done on first multi. Shit, nah, I didn't get Ishin first multi, only one I didn't want. Yeah, I hear you. Alright, I can quickly. My bad, let me, trying to scrub. It's definitely like when I'm done summoning though. Okay, it's here. You'll hear me cry too.
That'll be the end of it, I think. Just because we didn't get a 5-star from the 20 singles. Well, it confirms that no one is better than Acorn Metal Exchange.
I don't know if you could hear it.
Yeah, is that Cook Multi?
Oh yeah, that hair.
We're done. Fuck Aizen. We're not getting that nigga. It's good. Raleigh, I like how you called it as soon as I saw.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Look at that, 7,000 orbs. Feels fucking bad, man.
He's gonna show within one.
Oh yeah. So I skipped the multi. I see the Ishin.
Got him. Yes.
Yeah, I see the Ishin. I scroll down immediately because I'm like, please. Okay, let's not. We're not doing no ASMR. Not gonna do no ASMR here, ladies and gentlemen. But all right, so we're gonna call it a stream, guys. We're gonna call it good here. Overall thoughts right now, I'm liking this novel, but I definitely want to take my time with it, especially knowing that my voice can't handle reading like that or reading out loud. Keep in mind, this is my first time reading like out loud and stuff like that. So, oh, y'all want to hear it? Oh God, okay. Oh man. Oh no. Alright, yeah, we're done. We're done. We're ending the stream here. Thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate it, guys. Shout out to those that have been buying shirts and stuff like that. Right now, all the money that's being made from that is gonna go to my artist and me buying my own shit, because I feel like it's not right for me to peddle my shit and not buy it. I also have this, which I wore to church today. Keep in mind I wore a sweater, so I didn't look like a fucking weeb. And here's my white one. The shirt feels good too. Like, it's comfortable. I like it. Though it's kind of weird because they're both Hanes. They're both supposed to be the same shirt. But this one's tagless and this one's not. How the fuck that happens, I have no idea. Because technically it's supposed to be the same shirt, but whatever. Thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate it. Alright, I'll probably stream this tomorrow as well. We'll probably stream for like another hour and a half, something like that. Like I said, this stream is only gonna be unlisted, and I'll have a separate channel under the main category. Just have it under guild applications and just leave it at that. No, you're still in the Brawlhalla game channel. God damn it! Why do? My bad, Desmo. I thought that I fucking fixed that shit. Did I name my stream Brawlhalla in Twitch too? Oh no. I'm gonna be tight. God damn it, I fucking named it Brawlhalla. I forgot to fucking hit update information. God damn it. Well then. I'm sorry, Desmo. Yeah. Damn it. This is problems with Twitch. Why do I always do this to myself? Yeah, this is currently my wallpaper right now. I love my wallpaper. But let's see if I have a good one. Alright, take care, y'all. It's currently 6:45. Y'all go and spend some time with your family. Tell your mom you love her. I'm grateful that I told my dad that I loved him before he passed away. Like, those are literally the last things I told him was love you, bye. And then, yeah, that was the last time I saw him. Alive, anyways. Come for Brawlhalla, stay for the ASMR. Oh, no. Alright, so take care, y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.